So why don't we get, excellent. So I think we can go ahead and start the presentation, Troy. Thank you. So definitely welcome to campus and housing or commuter status, whichever you fall into. And we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So today we're hoping to give you a more formal welcome than maybe we already have done, introduce you to the services in residence and commuter life, a few guidelines around living on campus, housing assignments, and obviously, as Taryn just mentioned, move-in, which is going to be here before you know it. Next slide. All right, so this is just kind of an overview of the team that we have right now. Again, that's myself as a director, Taryn is the assistant director, and she did a great job of explaining that position. She, as she mentioned, supervises directly the 2 area coordinators. And there we have Spencer Norman, who is the upper class area coordinator, and Zach Kramer, that for this year will be the area coordinator for all the first-year students. And we would be remiss to leave out Matt McGahee. I'm sure if any of you have emailed the housing account already, either myself or Matt are ones that usually answer that. And he is our housing assistant and helps out with all different types of functions within the department, including assignments. All right, so these are just a couple things that for us are really important. You know, we definitely, our mission and guiding principles are to have our dedicated staff that works to create primarily a safe, clean, inclusive environment that contributes to the academic success and personal development of a diverse student body. And we take that very seriously in working with all of our students and working with our student staff, the resident assistants, to achieve those goals. And as it says there, ultimately, student success is our ultimate goal. And we try to, if you look at those words on the left, those are some of our driving words that we like to go back to that really are our pillars for our department. Connect, support, engage, empower, and educate. Really sums up all the different things that we do in our department. Next slide. All right. So we kind of have this divided into 2 different areas, what this, you know, you can expect from your staff and otherwise. So first of all, we definitely work very hard at creating a community that everyone feels comfortable in and safe and engaged. And all of you that are resident students will definitely contribute to that in the residence halls. If you're a commuter student, you should be contributing to that on the university campus as a whole. When it comes to the residence halls, one of the things that you should definitely expect from our staff is making sure we support you through any challenges you might have, whether it's a roommate conflict or concern with another department. We can point you in the right direction, but we'll also hold you accountable for any student conduct issues. And student conduct is a fancy way for saying perhaps people aren't following the rules in the residence halls or somewhere on campus that impacts our students as residents. And so it's really important that we abide by those rules. And the last thing that we have on this list is assignments and meal plans. Residence and Commuter Life coordinates all the housing assignments, whether you're a first-year student or senior. If you choose to live in housing, we're the ones that you'll work with to make that happen. And we also manage all the meal plans. You'll note as a first-year student, anyone that living on campus is required to have either a 14 or a 19 meal plan. If you have questions about that, just let us know. We can answer those at the end. In regard to residence expectations, it's really important that you take ownership of your experience, especially as you transition from high school to living on campus, or if you're a transfer student, from whatever you've been doing the last few years to being here on campus with us. It's really you that we want to communicate with, and we'll answer questions from parents, no problem. But ultimately, if it's a roommate assignment or something like that, we want to make sure that you're communicating what your needs are. So with that, it's really important to check all your emails. And at this point, you should definitely be checking your Arcadia emails every day. It's also important to be mindful of the impact that you have on your community. So if you're living on campus, each resident has an impact, hopefully positive to that community, but there's definitely can be negative impacts. And so if that's the case, we will help you to understand how to be positive on that floor and not a detriment to the community. So it's really important that you take that seriously. Next, I would say that, know what you're responsible for. Each student is responsible for knowing the rules and guidelines. And this year, there's certainly many more of them with COVID-19 impacting our communities. We will ensure that you get that information either prior to your arrival, during orientation, obviously, or when the school year starts. And so if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to ask to make sure we know what you're missing or what you need. Next slide. So by now, everyone who wants to live on campus as a new student should have already paid a deposit to the university to be a residential student rather than a commuter student. And they should have completed the housing questionnaire, which is a part of the housing application. You'll notice there's lots of different questions on there, and it's really important that you yourself completed that, not your parent, not your best friend, not your boyfriend, girlfriend, not your pug. Just kidding. But it's really important that you do that because it's really, you're the one that's going to live in that space. And if you're requesting a roommate, the system that you fill out those questions for pairs you with other people. And so hopefully you completed that application as accurately as possible. I think somehow we skipped a slide. If we could go back to that last one, that'd be great. Thank you. So right now we are finalizing assignments. And so you should get your assignment the week of July 20th. At that time, our goal is to also share with you, if you're going to have a roommate, you'll get the contact information for that roommate. And then just some things we want to point out because we've been getting questions about that. Like a lot of universities, we will have a company that will email you soon in regard to bed linens and care packages. And so if you get those are real emails. OCM is the name of the company, just the letters OCM. Microfridge, that email will be going out as well. And that is something where you're able to rent a microwave or refrigerator. This is a great year to really think about microfridges because perhaps you don't want to have to move your own in and you can rent and just leave it there after the end of the year. And please note with that, the personal microwaves are not permitted in the residence halls for safety purposes. All right, we are rolling along, Troy.
Do you want me to take this slide?
That would be great.
Hi everyone, this is Taryn again. So I'm sure a lot of your questions are around what are you supposed to bring? So on our presence page, you'll see a more in-depth list of what's suggested, what is a definite you'll need to bring, what you should absolutely not bring. But I'll start with what to bring, right? So the beds in all of the residence halls, they're twin XL bedding. So when you're shopping, probably at the big box stores or even online, make sure that you're getting twin XL versus twin. A twin could fit, but we all know it's frustrating when the ends come up a bit cheap. So make sure that you're looking for that twin XL. In the residence halls, each floor has community style bathrooms. So it's wise to have your own shower caddy, bring towels. No first year students will be in Oak Summit, but it's still a nice thing to have in your room if you're not a fan of overhead lighting, bring a lamp. You should bring your own waste baskets and trash bags, your own laundry supplies. So laundry on campus is free, which is a really great deal. I've worked at plenty of institutions where they charge even $1, but here at Arcadia, it is free. And we recommend to bring things like Tide Pods or Game Pods or Game Flings, whatever they're called, only because if this is your first time doing laundry, we really want to avoid, the washers overflooding with suds. And so for all the parents who are also listening in, now is also a great time to start with the laundry tips with your students because they'll be doing laundry on their own. We recommend bringing some dishes and utensils. You all will have meal plans, but for those times where you get takeout and you want to heat it up in your microfridge, right, you want to have your own thing. This next part is really important. So power strips are different than extension cords, right? Extension cords, they're usually 1 or 2 plugs on a really long cord, right? Extension cord. But power strip, those typically have a shut off. So when you're in the stores, when you're shopping online, make sure that whatever you bring has the automatic shut off, so that we can be safe and avoid fires, right? Storage crates, hangers, hooks, toilet paper, that's for Oak Summit, cleaning supplies. We are recommending that our students come with them, between 2 to 3 cloth face masks. That way you can wash them, but still have another one in your arsenal, essentially. Whatever personal medications you have, disinfectant wipes, things that you should not bring: alcohol under the age of 21, candles, and or incense, so that no open flames are permitted within the residence halls. Space heaters, I mean, it'll be August, so it'll be warm. We do have air conditioning, and in the winter time, the buildings do get pretty warm, so you don't need to bring space heater. Fireworks, hot plates, toasters, anything with an open heating element. While microwaves have to go through our vendor, My Micro Fridge, you are able to bring your own mini fridge, but it cannot be any larger than 3.2 cubic feet. So again, if you are planning to bring your own fridge and you're, maybe sharing with your roommate the micro fridge, just make sure that you're not getting one that's bigger than 3.2 cubic feet. We really don't want to send them home, so please make a note of that. Bed lofts are not permitted, but if you wanted to buy bed risers, so bed risers, they're usually raise the bed about 5 inches or so, and that's usually when folks want to store bins or personal items under the bed to make sure that there's enough floor space. You can also purchase those at the big box stores. They're usually like $10 to $20. No air conditioners or ceiling fans. Are able to bring like a personal table fan or a small fan that'll fit in your room. Again, we do have AC, but sometimes people like that extra airflow, so a personal fan is fine. The only pets that are permitted, so pets are different from ESA's, emotional support animals. So if you wanted to bring a small fish, everyone loves betta fish. If you wanted to bring one, that's fine. It just can be in a tank that's no larger than 10 gallons. And we already went over microwaves. I guess I'll also put in a note now too, especially as you all are planning to move in. So this is now my 10th year working in higher ed, in housing professionally with undergrad students. And so I have seen hundreds, maybe thousands of students move in on campus, and they pack up that SUV to the top, right? My biggest piece of advice is to think about all the things you think you want to pack in your car, cut it in half and cut it in half again. We do have mail on campus, so parents who are listening in, you are able to send your student care packages or things that they might need. I'm sure we'll have more information about how family weekend will look, but that's usually the first or second weekend in October. So think about the things that you'll need in the immediate. Think about the things that you absolutely need to bring from the what to bring list. But it's okay if your car, you don't show up with a caravan of items to bring your student to campus.
So move-in information, how to schedule your move-in. In the next day or two, you'll be getting an email from, actually it's probably going to be sent, it's either going to be to your personal email or the AU account, to be honest. But that will give you all kinds of information about move-in. It will make it really clear, as it states in this list, that the dates are between the 14th and the 25th. Due to COVID, it's really important that we all maintain the need for PPE, especially as things continue to shift and change here in the state of Pennsylvania. So a couple things that will help you out is wearing a mask at all times, and that you can bring 2 guests if you like. Normally there's lots more to that, but we're really trying to limit the number of people going through the buildings to make it as safe as possible for everybody. So after you get your email, you'll complete your availability, and then someone from staff, like Taryn was mentioning earlier, will send you a confirmation no later than August 1st as to your move-in date. Real critical information for people to know is that meal plans will begin on August 17th, which is earlier than usual. And so that way, you know, you'd be able to eat on campus somewhere starting on the 17th. I will say, I'll just insert for now, some people, both upper class and first year students, are considering moving on campus, but then dropping their things off. There's no requirement to stay on campus. If you move in, for example, the 19th, you may decide to go home for a few days before you come back to campus on time for orientation. Staff, RAs, and public safety are available resources during this time. They'll definitely be very involved with the process during those weeks. We are all in the process of finalizing and planning virtual engagement opportunities to really help you get to know the staff in RCL that you'll be connected with. And even if we aren't going to have giant large gatherings at the very start of the year, for example, we know it's very important for you to get connected to the resident assistant that will be on your floor and those that will be in your building or your area. For the start of the year, no guests will be permitted. I'm sorry, for the move-in time, no guests will be permitted. And so that, again, is for safety purposes. More details will be coming out about the policies around guests when we start the fall semester. But for move-in, this is not a time to have guests staying. We really want you to focus on getting settled in your space, whether it's with your family members or your friends that are helping you move, and feeling settled. Moving on, as you can see, fall orientation is the 26th to the 31st. Classes begin on the 31st. And all kinds of more information I'm sure will be coming your way in regard to that. And that is our presentation. So we're open to all kinds of questions and queries, as it says here. And if you don't have any questions, please know you can always write to the housing account at housing@arcadia.edu.
So we do have a couple of questions that was submitted via Mentimeter. So the first one being, what are the rules about plants in the dorms? I have plants that I don't quite trust my family to take care of.
Oh, that's a good question. So plants are permitted in the residence halls, so you are able to bring your plant babies with you. I would just say, caution if you are a student who has a roommate and you have a personal garden that you want to bring. The rooms are a decent size, but they're also not, extra large. So be mindful, but you are able to bring plants to campus.
Thank you. Next question. If we aren't allowed to bring a coffee maker, are electric kettles allowed, or is that a no also?
So coffee makers such as Keurigs, the personal K-cup machines, those are totally fine. The things that we're really trying to not have in the residence halls are anything where there's an exposed heating element. So let's say you have a coffee pot, like a Mr. Coffee that has the glass pot that sits on the hot plate. That hot plate sometimes stays really, really hot and it could cause a fire. So just to use an example to distinguish the differences between the two different types. In terms of bringing your own kettle, so if you had a personal tea kettle that's electric, you can plug that in. It just can't be something that sits on any sort of hot plate.
Thank you. Next question. When and where can we get a parking permit if we're commuting and our student IDs?
That's a great question. So upon arriving on campus, or what you could do is go to the one-stop shop. Although, Troy, do you know?
So parking permits you can get from the one-stop shop, and you will also get your ID card from one-stop shop. We're just not sure how that's going to work for move-in. Typically, we would have a packet for you when you came to move in, and your ID would be in this packet. I'm not sure if that's how we're doing it this year or where you're going to get your packet from. But when you move in, you will get your student ID because you need to access the building and all that stuff. So you'll get that when you do move in. And for a parking permit, you can apply for one through the one-stop shop. You can find that one through arcadia.edu. Next question, is an XL twin bed longer than a twin bed? Longer than a long twin bed.
Huh, I've never heard of a long twin bed. I'm gonna imagine they're one and the same.
I would imagine the XL is bigger than all of it.
And I'm somewhere in the middle. I never heard of a twin or then a long twin and then a twin XL. I think they might be one and the same. My suggestion would be to make sure you find bedding that says explicitly twin XL. I would also recommend, so really for the fitted sheets, so if you just wanted to make sure that you had twin XL sheets, but if you had a regular twin comforter, you should be okay. But I personally am not a fan of my fitted sheet rolling up in the middle of the night.
Me either.
Cool. Next question. How high is the bed when raised to the top without bed raisers?
Yes, so the beds in the residence halls, they are set. So how high are they? I mean, I would have to physically go and measure. I do know that they are not super low to the ground, so people are able to store standard, what is it, like 60-gallon bins under the bed. So however tall those are, that will fit under the bed without bed risers. When you do have bed risers, sometimes you fit the thinner one plus that standard 60-gallon size to give some sort of, I guess, visual of what'll fit underneath. But bed risers do not make the beds tall enough to fit your desk underneath, right? Like that would be to loft your bed, and that is not permitted on campus.
Is it still possible to request a single room due to the COVID?
That's a great question. If someone has a change of request, they should really send that in ASAP. I mean, after this week, it would be too late. So if that's something people really want to request, they should send that to the housing@arcadia.edu site today or tomorrow.
Next question. When will a commuter be able to access the dorm on a temporary basis and the cost?
The cost, there wouldn't typically be any cost for a commuter student to access the residence house. Can you restate that question, Troy?
So it's like, when commuters can sleep over sometime, when can they start doing that this school year?
Yes.
So that's unclear. Go ahead, Taryn.
Oh, I was going to say this year we actually are no longer to have guest rooms set aside to allow for the number of students and returning students. So to provide a little bit of context, usually we're able to keep a couple of rooms offline depending on what our numbers are. And in typical years, we do have students who are in doubles, in some cases triples, so we're able to make that happen. But as we're trying to accommodate the numbers of singles plus doubles and no triples, our housing availability is really, really tight. And so at this time, we are not keeping any rooms offline for guest use.
How high is the demand for single rooms? As in, what are my chances of getting a single if I requested it now?
So in general, we don't put many first-year students in a typical year in singles. This year, we changed that and we're trying to accommodate as many as we can. If someone requests a single today, I cannot guarantee that. That would be harder to guarantee because we've had those numbers for about a month now, what people request. I would say roughly 20 to 25% of the first-year class at last count had requested a single space. So they're fairly common.
And that was my last question. Give it a second. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Office of Residence and Commuter Life, for doing this live session for our orientation program. Again, you all, if you have any questions for this office, you can email them at housing@arcadia.edu. Just a couple of things. I'm going to post the link to go to earn your armor. So again, if you if you were at the session, you don't have to go to the on-demand RCL page because you were on this session to still earn your armor. For those of you that have not been on Nightlife yet, you should go on there. We have an on-demand schedule, so you can go and look at different offices and learn about them and watch some videos and earn your armor, learn about the orientation leaders. Each Monday, you're going to get an email telling you what live sessions are going to happen that week. So if some of you were not able to do the conversations with the OLs, we are doing that every single Wednesday, just at different times. So look out for your email on Monday to let you know what's happening that week. And if you have any questions for me or the orientation staff, you can email us at orientation@arcadia.edu. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Bye, everybody.